Hello everyone and welcome into This Week in High School Sports in the Coaches Corner. We'll be talking with coaches, players, and fans throughout the Sequatchie Valley, where football fans really get into the action. How did the teams do last week? How will they fare this next week? Let's find out on This Week in High School Sports.
Hello everybody and welcome into the Coaches Corner. This week we have another special guest with us, retired Coach Don Grider. He's our guest sports analyst for this week's program. And Don, we appreciate you being with us today.
Well, thank you for asking me.
A reminder, our sponsors include the Jackson Farmers Co-op, Napa Hub City Automotive of South Pittsburgh, Moss Motor Company of South Pittsburgh, the Lotto Mart in South Pittsburgh, Staffing Solutions of South Pittsburgh, the Napa Auto Parts Store in Stevenson, the North Jackson Pharmacy of Stevenson, the City of Stevenson, Gentry Chevrolet of Kimball, that's Gentry Chevrolet Pontiac Buick, and of course the Whitwell Baptist Church. Those are the folks that are making the program possible. On the Coaches Corner today, we're going to be having those special interviews, and we're going to be hearing what the coaches have to say. The big season opens up here in Marion County this week, but Jackson County has to wait a week. We'll tell you about those games as we go along. Opening up on the 19th, Murphy, North Carolina at Marion County, Greenback at South Pittsburgh, Sequatchie County at Whitwell, and then on the 26th, Plainview will be at North Jackson. Tonight, North Jackson will be having a preseason game with Huntsville High at North Jackson. And then tomorrow night, Scottsboro will be participating in a jamboree at Sections. So a lot of the teams have been playing the preseason scrimmage games. We had the opportunity last week to visit Sequatchie, and Don, I know you said you had the opportunity to see some of that game and got a chance to watch it Saturday morning on TV too. Which team up there, in your opinion, impressed you a little bit?
Well, I thought Marion County looked pretty good against us. They looked real good offensively in the quarter that they played against South Pittsburgh. South Pittsburgh looked pretty good against Boyd. Now Boyd may have the best material of anybody up there. I don't know whether we surprised them a little bit, but you could tell that they could play. Mm-hmm. They drilled Whitwell pretty good, I think, in the last quarter, or next to the last quarter. So I really didn't see an outstanding team up there, Dave, that I thought was outstanding. I seen some pretty good-looking teams, but I didn't see one that I thought was head and shoulders above everybody else.
Do you remember back when Mr. Bean, Coach Bean, would go into those jamborees and not show anything?
He wouldn't play. He'd play his B team.
Yeah, and everybody would think it wouldn't be their year, and then when the season got underway, it was a whole nother story.
He was always afraid he'd get somebody hurt in the jamboree. That's the reason that he didn't play his starters, and I guess it was good for his B team boys too. You know, it gave them a little feeling of
involvement,
being able to play and getting out in front of a crowd.
Right.
He was pretty good at that kind of business.
He was good at psychology.
He sure was.
Yeah. Well, we've got some interviews coming up here on the Coaches Corner, but before we get to those or start them, I want to remind you of our live broadcast and videotaping coming up on the 19th, Sequatchie County at Whitwell. You'll be able not only to hear that game over WEPG, but it'll also be, the audio will be on the cable, and then Saturday morning you can see the replay of that ball game, and that should be a real treat. But starting off today, we're going to start with North Jackson and come right up the valley. North Jackson, of course, has had a couple of signees that have signed on with Alabama. That, of course, is always a boost to a program when you can place some youngsters at college. And we're going to right now get the interview with Coach Mark Rose at North Jackson.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into the Coach's Corner. We're on location at North Jackson High School with Coach Mark Rose of the North Jackson Chiefs. It's been a long, hot summer, and it's still warm in North Alabama. Coach, how's the summer work gone with these youngsters?
It's gone real well. You know, we worked about 4 days a week in the summer and workouts, and we've had a good preseason. Kids are working real hard, and you know, it's going as well as can be expected.
Understand that some of the youngsters on their own went to some special camps, 7-on-7. Tell us a little bit about how that works.
Well, 7-on-7, we take the secondary and linebackers, and then all our backs and receivers and quarterbacks, and it's just all passing. And we went to a 16-team tournament, and we did some good things there. Played against a lot of 6A schools, and really was a good deal for us.
Let's talk a little bit about the talent that you don't have this year. Then we'll talk about this year's crop of players. Had some pretty good talent to graduate out.
Oh, we did. We had a great senior class, and a lot of our guys on both fronts, and of course, Ali's at Alabama now. It was a great group of young men, and you know, we got some good ones coming behind them.
You know, Ali going to Alabama, that seems to maybe even boost the entire program for youngsters to know they have a hope of accomplishing an appearance at a major college.
There's no doubt about it. You know, with Blake Schrader going to Auburn and then Ali going to Alabama, it's great for our program. You know, we got other guys in college, Al Walker at Tennessee Tech and George Summers at Jack State. They're all doing great, and it's great for our program.
Has to give you a feeling of accomplishment, doesn't it?
No doubt about it. You know, our coaches are proud of these guys, and we got great tradition here at North Jackson, and you know, our players are representing us well in college.
Coach Mark Rose with the North Jackson Chiefs, looking over the strength chart, you've got some youngsters that can do a leg press up over 1,000 pounds. To what do you attribute all this strength?
Hard work. You know, our kids work basically year round. We take a week off after the season and then start back for the next year. Work all summer, work through their other sports on days that they don't have ball games, and you know, it's just a good consistent program. Bring them in starting the last part of their 8th grade year, and that's why our strength level's where it's at.
Coach, you understand that you have more sophomores than you do seniors or freshmen. What do you think in high school ball the reason is that a lot of these youngsters give it up before their senior year?
Well, actually, our freshman and sophomore class are the two biggest we've had, and we're really excited about that. You know, we got about 61 players, which is up about 20 or 22 from last year, and so we're excited about the future. You know, we got a young team, but you know, like I told them, we don't believe in rebuilding. We're going to work as long and as hard as it takes to have a great football team, and you know, our guys are working hard right now, and we're real pleased with them. Are you where you want to be going into the preseason game with Huntsville? You're never where you want to be, and you know, we got a long way to go, but you know, especially being as young as we are on both offensive and defensive fronts, but you know, we're getting there as fast as we can. We're working long and hard in the preseason, and these guys are paying the price, getting better every day. So you know, we're just gonna come out here and try to play hard against Huntsville. We're not really spending very much time at all on them, where everything's working for Plainview in the opener. Coach Rose, you and your coaches are to be commended for bringing these youngsters on as quickly as you do. It appears to us that you don't go around telling them they're freshman or sophomore, because they wind up on the playing field playing like they've been there all along. Well, you know, that's once again our consistent work ethic. We get them young, and You know, like I said, we work longer and harder, probably than most folks. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And you know, it's a great tradition here, and we feel like the next guy's got to step up. And you know, we're not going to sit around and make excuses because we got a bunch of sophomores. You know, we expect to be ready. Only have 7 seniors, but they're outstanding kids and been giving us great leadership. And you know, we're looking forward to the season.
Coach Rose, how big are the Chiefs across the defense and offensive line? That's what everybody's wondering about.
Well, you know, we're probably as big as we've been. We got pretty decent size. That's not, you know, something that we really hold a lot of stock in because most of the time we're smaller than the people we play. But you know, we got some kids with some size. Jake Guthrie's probably about 250, 255 at center. And defensive line, we got Brandon Earls about 280. And rest of our guys are, you know, 230, 240. And then we have some smaller guys about 190 or 200. But, you know, we got probably a little better size than we've had. But, you know, it's all about execution, getting the job done, fundamentals, and that's really what's important.
Coach, we don't want to leave anybody out on this interview. What about the Thomas kid who was in a car wreck, and I don't believe he's going to be able to play any more football?
Well, we don't really know that right now. It's too early. Obviously, he won't be able to this season, but I talked to his dad the other night. He's off the respirator, which is something we've been praying about a lot. And, you know, we need our folks to keep praying for Cody and his family. It's been real tough going through that, and we're just glad that he's improving. And, you know, he's on our mind. We pray for him every day at practice, and, you know, we really, he never leaves our mind.
What about Huntsville High coming in here for a preseason scrimmage? As you mentioned a few moments ago, you've got your mind on Plainview, but this will be a good workout. What about Huntsville? Do you know anything about them this year?
Yeah, they're always a good, solid 5A football team. Coach Weisman and his staff do a great job of coaching. It was an outstanding game for us last year, just going in there and hitting and, you know, working on our execution, our base plays. We won't be doing anything fancy, but we just gonna go out there and try to hit them hard, and hopefully we'll be better executing than we were in our scrimmage last week, and just improve out there and compete against a good, tough, physical football team.
Have you had time to determine who's going to be starting where, or do you wait till the first game?
Well, we got a pretty good idea of who's going to be in the playing rotation. Still some things up in the air as far as that goes, and that'll remain under competition until the opener. But we look at this week as a time to assess more, and we'll probably get more guys in the heat of battle this game than we would the opener, and we can get in there and grade them, see how they did under the lights, and that'll help us finish the process.
Coach Rose, best of luck to you this season. Appreciate you being on the Coach's Corner with us each week, and I want you to go out there and control the game from the very beginning. I know you always do.
I know y'all don't want much, but we appreciate what y'all do, and we're looking forward to the season. Great group of kids, and just ready to play some North Jackson football.
You've been listening to the Coach's Corner at North Jackson today with Coach Mark Rose of the North Jackson Chiefs. We're going to be traveling up and down the Sequatchie Valley talking to other coaches right here on TV2.
Taking a look at some of the talent for North Jackson, then we'll move on to Marion County. Quarterback Matt Bernard comes back this year. Halfbacks Cam Robinson and Darrell Langford. All these guys combined for over 1,700 yards of rushing last season. Some of the people that are going to be missed include Ali Sharif, Trey Thomas, Chris Woodruff, Cody Sparkman, Daniel Carter, Matt Leroy, Jonathan Guess, Robbie Eversole, Paul Allen, Justin Greider, Cody Cagle, or actually it's Cortrell Ivory, the last one on the list there. This year, North Jackson has about 14 sophomores coming back, 6 seniors and 8 juniors. And that's a look at North Jackson. And coming up next, we're going to take a look at the Marion County Warriors. They opened their schedule, as we mentioned there a few minutes ago, at home on the 19th against Murphy, North Carolina. Kickoff time will be at 7 o'clock. And Marion County has some talent in the Van Kinsey youngster. He returns with 1,200 yards rushing last year. That young man can scoot.
He's a quick little fella. He's not very big, doesn't look like, but he has good football skills. I was impressed by him. He had a Bragg kid that looked pretty good too. I think he was just a sophomore. Mm-hmm. And like I said, they moved the ball pretty much at will against us after we'd put up a pretty good showing against Boyd. So
Marion has a good sized line.
Yes, they do. They've got a good sized front, and they may be hard to do business with.
That off-season weight training, that does a lot for a youngster nowadays.
Oh, you know, that's something that I never done. We didn't do when I was coaching. We lifted very little weights. Now it's if you don't lift weights, you're in trouble. And it makes them stronger, more physical, and it's just a great deal of help to the program.
Well, Coach Grider, I remember a lot of your teams. They were quick, and they control the line of scrimmage a lot of times with that quickness. Some of them didn't have the size, but you managed to find that quickness on that line.
We never were very big, and as a matter of fact, the teams we had that were big couldn't play a lick. I don't know whether I couldn't coach them or what, but when we had great big people, we didn't seem to play very well. We got a lot more out of average size youngsters than we did out of big people, and we never have. This year's team is very small. He's got 2 or 3 good sized boys, but as a whole, they're small, but they can run. Mm-hmm. And we always felt like, you know, if you could run, you had somewhat of an advantage over.
Sure. We
used to say speed kills. You know, I don't know whether that's going to hold true this year or not. Vic probably kill me for saying that, but he's real young, and but he does have some speed.
I remember back years and years ago, we didn't have a weight room, didn't have any weights, and the roughest conditioning that we ever had was before the practice session. We had to run laps around the field, then we'd run wind sprints, then we'd do calisthenics, and then we'd practice. And when practice was over, all of that except the calisthenics was repeated. Yeah. Wind sprints, running laps. They don't do that nowadays.
No, they as a matter of fact, Vic sometimes takes his boys, and I'm sure that the others do. He'll lift weights after practice sometime. And sometimes he'll lift weights before he goes to practice. And they do most of their conditioning work, you know, by wind sprints after practice. I don't know the last time I ever seen them run a lap around the field like you was talking about. And
they don't do it anymore.
And when I was playing, that's all, like you said, that's all we did, except down in one corner of the old beans field up there, the old football field, they had a bank. And we'd run up that bank, I'm telling you, and down through the goalpost so many times it...
Part of the end zone on the upper end ran uphill.
You remember that? That's exactly right. And the other end was downhill, and we always tried to take the downhill part to start the football game.
Right.
And you run into the hedgerow going that way.
Yeah, I played on that field.
Yeah.
I remember it well. Well, okay, I think we're about ready for the Marion County Warrior interview with Coach Dale Pruitt. Maybe he'll tell us a little bit more about these Warriors for this season.
We're at Marion County High School this week in the Coach's Corner with Coach Dale Pruitt of the Warriors of Marion County, who just finished up an appearance in the Sequatchie Valley Jamboree. Talk a little bit about that. I know the game or the performances really didn't matter as far as who won, but did you get the performance out of your players that you thought you would?
Well, we felt like we got what we needed out of it offensively, but we got to get better defensively. We tried to play a lot of kids, but still we've got to get better defensively.
You know, in a jamboree, Coach, it's really hard to know basically what the opponent is going to do since you hadn't had an opportunity to scout them for this season. But it was just line up man-to-man and have at it. Good turnout of fans, too, wasn't it?
Well, I thought it was a good turnout. I thought it had it's a pretty good jamboree. You got that many teams involved. That's a lot of people. But, we felt like we got some good stuff out of it.
Talk about Van Kinsey a little bit. He put on a running show for you.
Van is, he rushed for about 1,200 yards last year. He's coming off a knee surgery that he got during wrestling, and he's been banged up all summer with that. But he's getting back to his, regular self now.
Talk to us about some of the linemen that you saw promise in the other night.
Well, you start naming folks, and without a list in front of me, I leave off some people. But I felt like our offensive line had some promise to it. Defensively, we had some plays. Troy Copeland made some plays at Shade on defense, especially. His name is one that comes to me first. Had some other kids that had some plays. Colt Taylor, as a sophomore, played most of the game on the field all the time, and we got to get him a little better. He's got to get his motor run a little bit better. He'll be fine. There's several more that made plays. 66 made some plays. I can't think of his name right off. Lockhart, yeah. Mm-hmm. Lockhart made some plays. But by and large, defensively, we got to make more plays with our front up there. But as far as our offensive line, I thought they did pretty good.
You've got some big guys on that offense and defensive line.
Well, we've got big guys, but the old saying "speed kills." That's the deal. You want as much speed as possible as you can get, and you need big guys that can run. That's what helps.
What about Murphy, North Carolina? How did this game come about?
Well, we're in a region where you only have 5 region teams, and so we didn't have enough games, and you had to play certain people in certain places on your region. And when it got for our 6th and 7th, and them games that other people had, we didn't have anybody, and so we started looking around and couldn't find anybody, and they really called us. That's not usually a good situation when they call you looking for a game from another state, but we went ahead and signed them up, and we'll see what happens.
Dale, it didn't appear that the hot weather did much damage to the Warriors or anybody else. Everybody seemed to be in pretty good shape.
Well, I of course, I guess as coaches you look at it different. I felt like we did melt a little bit, especially some of our big guys and even some skilled people. But a lot of that is nerves. When you play the first ball game, first time you're in front of a crowd, you get a little bit nerves up and all that kind of stuff. But we got to get more people able to get on the field so that we can give some folks some breaks at key times, so speed don't become a factor.
Talking about your offense, are you going to do anything different than just from week to week, run it at them and kick and draw them up and then throw it on them?
Well, we run out of the gun the other night almost the whole time, and that's primarily what we'll do. But we can go back up on the center, but we will run the football out of the gun. So we just try to keep it balanced and whatever we feel like that they're giving us, and we hope to make a first down.
Going without the huddle, is that a complicated offense?
No, not really. It's something we've done off and on for a few years. You can do it several different ways, but it's not really all that complicated. It's just really what the kids get used to doing.
The quarterback has a bracelet that he looks at calling the play after you signal it in?
Well, actually, everybody has one, and so they just look down at it. But your quarterback has got to be a communicator with you on that. That's a big thing. He's got to watch the sideline and get communication, but that's that just helps us from not having to worry about getting in and out of the huddle. We're already there. We can look at the defense a little bit longer and snap the ball.
Does that bother the defense?
Well, some teams it seems to, and some teams it doesn't. That helps us. If we want to speed up the pace of the game, we can. If we want to slow it down, we can. But we can make them stay at the line of scrimmage anyway, and maybe show their hand.
It's like keeping a fighter on the ropes.
Well, I don't know about that.
Coming up on September the 9th, Grundy County at Marion County. That's the one that's going to be broadcast live. And, of course, each week we're going to be having the videos of the Marion County Warriors played back on Saturday morning. The first game will be Sequatchie County at Whitwell, then a North Jackson hosting Plainview, Sequatchie at South Pittsburg on the 2nd, and on the 9th, Grundy County here at Marion County. Looking forward to it. Have a good season.
Thank you. Looking forward to it.
Coach Dale Pruitt of the Marion County Warriors here on the Coach's Corner.
And we want to say thanks to Coach Dale Pruitt for taking time out and giving us that special interview. Let me pass along the play-by-play people here on TV2, covering Marion County, a young man that has followed the Warriors for years. He can tell you statistics from years gone by. Dave Daffrin, he'll cover Marion County. Sean Dunwoody, no stranger to the South Pittsburg Pirates. Sean's going to cover the Pirates at home and on the road. And at Whitwell, Darrell Winters has agreed to help us with the Whitwell Tigers, and I'll cover the North Jackson Chiefs for you. Coming up in just a few minutes, we'll have the interview that we got with Philip Condra, the new coach at Whitwell. He has 15 starters coming back from a team that finished 8-2 last year with wins over Copper Basin and Lookout Valley and a 1-point loss at Whitwell. Temple is a legitimate threat to win the region, they say. Of course, the preseason talk that goes on every year and the stories that come out in the papers and everything, you can't really count a lot on that because, for one thing, if a team's ranked real high, that just makes them a target, doesn't it?
It sure does. I expect Tennessee Temple to be a factor, but I don't know how soon. It's a little different playing a varsity schedule week in and week out and playing. I don't know whether they played a full varsity schedule last year or not, but I suspect that they'll pick up some football players out of the Chattanooga area, and in the near future, I kind of look for them to be another good football team.
Private schools are hard to beat.
Well,
from the standpoint of recruitment,
they can go get players. I mean, we can say what we want to about it. They go out and they find football players from other communities, and when you can do that, you can have a good football team. If I'd been able to go up and down the valley when I was coaching and got me a player from Bridgeport and one from Stevenson and one from Jasper, one from Whitwell, we could have had good teams all the time. But the public schools aren't able to do that.
Not allowed.
They're not allowed to do it. And so the Boyd Buchanans, that's the reason that I feel like that they come along so fast. Don't get me wrong now, Coach Akins is a good football coach, but he goes down to Jasper and gets the best player they've got probably. He goes over in Georgia and gets players. He go to Cleveland and get players. And I'm not really talking about them. That's just plain and simple facts. Mm-hmm. And when you can do that, you can look at them. Up at the Jamboree, I think they had about 70, 80 people dressed out. Well, when you get that many people dressed out for football, I can remember when they didn't have 25 dressed out for football. And they weren't near as good either back in those days. But they're darn good now.
They can pick and choose now.
They can pick and choose.
That's right. The program, Coach's Corner, is brought to you in part by the Whitwell Baptist Church, Gentry Chevrolet, Pontiac, Buick, and Kimball, the City of Stevenson, the North Jackson Pharmacy in Stevenson, the Napa Auto Parts Store at Stevenson, Staffing Solutions of South Pittsburg, Bridgeport Sports, downtown Bridgeport, Moss Motor Company in South Pittsburg, the Napa Hub City Automotive in South Pittsburg, the Lotto Mart in South Pittsburg, and the Jackson Farmers Co-op. We appreciate these merchants and others that we'll be telling you about from time to time. All right, now it's time to move on to the Whitwell Tigers and Coach Philip Condra. Let's see what he had to say.
The Coach's Corner continues at Whitwell High School, and we're going to be talking with Coach Philip Condra about the Jamboree this past week. We'll talk a little bit about the practice sessions he has planned for this week and the opening game of the season, which will feature Sequatchie coming here to Whitwell. Coach Condra, talk a little bit about the Jamboree. Did you learn anything about any particular positions?
Yeah, I think our first team responded very well. They executed very well early on, both offense and defense. And I seen what I needed to see out of them, and I got them out pretty early, fearing injuries.
I noticed that some of the teams coming in there were a little bit bigger in stature, but the Tigers seemed to hold their own.
Yeah, we with what we do offensively, defense is a little different. What we do offensively, we really don't have to block very well. Our quarterback, he's reading defensive linemen on the front, and we're basically attacking the second level. And we generally fare well against bigger teams.
That's one of the keys, I imagine, in having a smaller team, is for each player to be able to read the other team.
It helps. It helps. It gives you that first or second down lineman. We basically don't have to block, and we can use our smaller kids' speed as far as getting out on linebackers.
You opened the season here at Whitwell against Sequatchie, and of course they were in the Jamboree the other day. What do you expect out of them in the regular season game?
Well, I noticed they went to a shotgun package, and I feel like they might try to spread us out and run underneath with that really good fullback they've got, Chase Whited. I think they will throw the ball a little more out of the shotgun, but we're basically going to prepare for them for what they did last year and try to maybe line up and stop their passing game. We've never really been good at that, so we'll just see how it works out.
Coach Condra, how difficult is it this day and time to get these youngsters really emotionally charged, say for the first regular season game? Do you have to do a lot of psychology?
No, it is Sequatchie after all. They're rivals. These kids, they know one another. They see each other year round, and it's there at one time. Sequatchie pretty much beat up on us every year, but out of the last 3 years, I think we beat them twice. So we're renewing a rivalry there, and it's good to see. And I hope all the folks at Sequatchie show up and support their team, because I know our community will be here in full force supporting ours. So I hope it turns out pretty good.
Maybe it will. What about the linemen? They seldom get much mentioned on broadcast and telecast. Who are some of your linemen that you expect to be team leaders this year?
Thomas Martin, Tavis Tripp, Jason McDonough, Sam Huckleby, and Sam Kyvenhoven. Sam Kyvenhoven, he'll be a senior this year, and he missed all of last year with a shoulder injury, and we're expecting him to step in and do some good things for us this year.
What's it going to take to defeat Sequatchie County?
Execution. I feel like they're a really good team. They may even be a little bit better than us, and we just can't afford to make any mistakes, really.
In a game like the Jamboree this past week, there were no surprises from any of the teams. Everybody pretty much just went straight ahead. In a Jamboree, you don't pull any tricks out of the bag, do you?
Well, if you're smart, you wouldn't. But then again, I was talking to Sequatchie County coach. He kind of run a little sweep and then threw back the quarterback. I said, I can't believe you run that in the Jamboree. So that's probably the only time I'll run it all year. You know, at least people have to prepare for it. So I guess that's another logic, but I don't believe that. I believe they'll run it again.
Coach Condra, I tell you, that was the most unusual play of the entire jamboree, don't you think?
Yes, I do. I really do.
Where the quarterback flipped the ball off and went to the left, the weak side, and all of a sudden he was there to catch the pass. Well, we certainly wish you the best against Sequatchie County and throughout the season. We appreciate you taking time to talk with us here on the Coach's Corner.
Well, thank you. Glad to be on it, and I hope everybody comes out Friday night and supports Whitwell Tigers.
The Coach's Corner on TV2 will continue after this timeout.
And we certainly appreciate Coach Condra talking with us about Brandon Pickett, 246-pounder, Travis Tripp, 220-pounder, Sam Kuvenhoven, I guess that's the way you pronounce his name, 200-pound. They have some big guys on that Whitwell line. And, of course, they're expecting big things from those big linemen. Next, we're going to be traveling back down the road to South Pittsburg to talk with Coach Vic Grider in just a minute or two. First of all, I'd like to remind you of the Stevenson Napa Auto Parts Store. Downtown Stevenson can provide your every auto part need and auto supplies, including fluids, filters, hydraulic hoses, car care products, plenty of tools for all kinds of repair jobs. Terry Allison and his crew can keep your engine performing like it should be performing with those great Napa Auto Parts. Stevenson Napa Auto Parts Store, one of our fine sponsors on the North Jackson play-by-play, as well as on the Coach's Corner. The live broadcast, let me mention those again, coming up on the 19th. Sequatchie County at Whitwell, 7 p.m., I believe, Coach. Most of those games are going to start around 7. And then the next week, the live broadcast will consist of Plainview at North Jackson. In the following week, Sequatchie County at South Pittsburg for the live broadcast. Grundy County at Marion County on the 9th. Whitwell at Grace Baptist Academy on the 16th. Bledsoe County at South Pittsburg on the 23rd. And as the schedule goes on, I'm sure we're going to be able to carry the South Pittsburg and Marion County game because, Coach Grider, that's a rivalry, goes way back.
I believe they tell us all the time that it's the oldest rivalry in the state of Tennessee.
Most likely.
And I mean, it's always been a war, and it'll continue to be one. They just don't like each other. I don't think the two communities like each other, and I know that the two football teams don't like each other. So it'll be a real football game.
I can remember back talking about rivalries. Bridgeport and Stevenson used to have a similar rivalry, and the band from Stevenson would come to Bridgeport. The Bridgeport band would go to Stevenson. They'd pass on the highway and march in the communities, and then come back home and march. And that was on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
You remember when they played on Thanksgiving?
I sure do. I remember when Marion County and South Pittsburg played on Thanksgiving Day. The rivalry, I guess, really began, because of Mr. Bean. Mr. Bean was a Jasper man. He went to school at Marion County.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always been a rivalry ever since those days, and I think that was back in the 20s.
Back before our time.
Right, yeah, way before our time. So it's always been a heated rivalry, and I guess it always will be as long as they continue to play each other, and I hope that they do, even though Jasper has outgrown us considerably. I hope that they continue to play forever.
I do too. A lot of rivalry there.
Yes.
Well, let's get on with our interview with Coach Vic Grider at South Pittsburg.
Continuing with the Coach's Corner, Coach Vic Grider of the South Pittsburg Pirates just finished the Jamboree the other night. Did we learn anything?
Well, I think we learned that, when we're at our best, we can probably play with most of the people on our schedule. I was pretty pleased with the 2 quarters that we played. I thought offensively we executed pretty well, and defensively we continue to do the things that we've done in the preseason, and that's use our speed and run to the football. And, if we can continue to do those things and hang on to the football, we've got a chance.
Noticed you didn't show anything unusual. We kept watching for more passing. You had some of that, and it turned out real good for you. But You don't want to show a whole lot in the Jamboree, do you?
Well, no, you just, we use that kind of as a learning time. We just want to see if we can execute our base running plays and the base plays in our pass game. I think everything we threw, with the exception of one pass, was a 3-step drop pass. So, we didn't want to get too fancy. We just wanted to see if we could do the basic things that are going to hopefully help us win some football games. And for the most part, we were able to do that.
Noticed you had some running ability too. Tell us about that.
That's the area that we've tried to put a lot of emphasis on this off season, or this summer leading up to the season. We weren't very good at running the football last year. Let's just be honest. We just had a hard time running the football, and that's one thing we wanted to go back to. And I think we've got better there. I don't think there's any question about it. I think in the scrimmages that we've had and in the Jamboree, we've been able to run the football fairly successfully. So. It just does so many things when you can run the football, especially when you've got a receiver like we do in Antonio Robinson, who, is probably as good as there is around. It just opens up so many more things for him when people can't put two guys out there covering him. And if we can get better running the football, we could be a pretty good offensive football team.
That was your third scrimmage, I guess you could call it. These things help at the beginning of the year, don't they?
Well, it's the only way to really get an idea of where you stand. I mean, you can sit down and practice as long as you want to, but we're like most A teams. There's a pretty big drop off between our first team guys and the other guys. So, trying to find out where you stand in practice sometimes is very difficult. So, you need to go against people that can play a little bit. So, it lets you know where you stand, lets you know the things you need to work on, and it's a real good measuring tool.
Tell us about Greenback. Where is that, and how'd that game come about?
Well, Greenback is in Loudoun County, up close to Knoxville. It's probably about an hour and a half drive from here. Traditionally strong Class A program. They won a state championship back in the late 80s. And matter of fact, 7, 8, 9 years ago, we played Greenback on a regular basis. They were actually in our region at one time. So we played them on a year-in, year-out basis, but things changed a few years ago, and we got away from them, and I guess this will be the first time we've played them since 97, 98, somewhere around there. But very good Class A program. Went to the quarterfinals last year, and they're just a team every year in Class A ball that's going to be in the mix and is going to be a quality program.
How many returnees do they have of any consequence?
Well, the thing that worries us is that they've got the majority of their linemen back on both sides of the ball. And, most good football teams start with having quality people up front, and I think they do that. I think they lost a few skill kids. I know they lost their quarterback, who was a real good player, an all-state player last year. But, having those linemen back up front is something that they can build on. And, we know very well that Friday night we've got our hands full.
Vic, are you going to get after them real quick, or are you just going to play kind of conservative?
Well, I hope we can get something going early. We're an awful young football team, and we need positive things to happen to us. I'm afraid of how we might react if things don't go our way early, or if something bad happens to us early in the game. I'm not sure how we'll react. So, we need to try to make some positive things happen early and get a good feeling about ourselves. And I think we're a team that if we get on top, we might be tough to deal with, but also I wonder what will happen to us if we get behind or get down. So, we're going to come out and throw it all out there all at once and not hold anything back and just see what happens.
Good luck to you.
Thanks, Dave. Thank you.
Coach Vic Ryder of the South Pittsburg Pirates here on the Coach's Corner, and we hope to be talking with Vic each week right here on the program.
We'll be back with a look at the scheduling for this weekend here on the Coach's Corner right after this timeout. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Williams, voice of the North Jackson Chiefs and host of the Coach's Corner right here on TV2 every Thursday night. And, of course, we'll be seeing you every Saturday morning with the replays on WAPG TV2.
And I'm Sean Dunwoody, voice of the South Pittsburg Pirates.
And I'm Dave Daffrin, voice of the Marion County Warriors.
And I'm Darrell Winters, voice of the Whitwell Tigers.
Join us each Friday night for the Game of the Week and Saturday morning for the play-by-play replays of each game here on TV2, WEPG AM 910. Join us each Thursday night at 7 for the Coach's Corner for an in-depth rundown of last week's games, the stats, and the scores from around the area. And of course, taking place tonight, a preseason game at North Jackson against Huntsville High. Should be interesting to see the Chiefs tonight. And this Friday, Murphy, North Carolina comes to Marion County. Greenback at South Pittsburg, Sequatchie County at Whitwell. And then on Friday night, Scottsboro is going to be going out to Section for the Jamboree for their opening season. And of course, next week, the 26th, Plainview will be at North Jackson. Let's not leave out the mountain teams. Galesville will be the location for North Sand Mountain's opener. North Sand Mountain at Galesville. Pisgah will play at Sylvania. Section will play at Eider. And that's about it as far as the schedules are concerned. There are other teams we'll be talking about and giving you their schedules as well. Coach Don Greider, thank you for being with us today.
Well, I appreciate it, Dave.
That's going to wrap it up here on the Coach's Corner. We'll be talking with you again next week. Hello, everybody. I'm Dave Williams, voice of the North Jackson Chiefs and host of the Coach's Corner right here on TV2 every Thursday night. And, of course, we'll be seeing you every Saturday morning with the replays on WEPG TV2.
And I'm Sean Dunwoody, voice of the South Pittsburg Pirates.
And I'm Dave Daffron, voice of the Marion County Warriors.
And I'm Daryl Winters, voice of the Whitwell Tigers.
Join us each Friday night for the Game of the Week and Saturday morning for the play-by-play replays of each game here on TV2, WEPG AM 910. Join us each Thursday night at 7 for the Coach's Corner for an in-depth rundown of last week's games, the stats and the scores from around the area.